Hello and welcome to this week's edition of A Closer Look. We are down here this week at the World Government Summit, where the world's leaders have arrived in Dubai to discuss solutions for the pressing issues affecting our planet today. Now I'm here with John Dennehy, who's been reporting on this summit for several years. And what have you been hearing this week, John? Lots of thought bubbles in the rooms. What have you taken away so far?
Yeah, so the World Government Summit, we've got about 25 leaders here today, and along with dignitaries and VIPs and ministers from really across the world. And the World Government Summit has really become a sort of a really important listening post as to what's happening in the region. So major issues like Gaza have obviously dominated what's happening, but lots of other issues, in the corridors, in the kind of breakout rooms. AI, obviously. We had Tucker Carlson here. We just got back from the interview with Vladimir Putin, controversial interview, but still, important to hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
Also, we've heard from, Paul Kagame in Rwanda, who's going for re-election this year. All these issues that are affecting the world are kind of convalescing in Dubai during these 3 days, and it's really fascinating to watch it unfold.
Yeah, a lot of the messages I've heard have been quite similar to what we've heard in Davos. For example, the IMF talking about global interest rates and the soft landing they were talking about after the global economic crisis, like all the mini crisis we're going through here with the cost of living, etc. And also, the Director General of the World Health Organization, he was talking about this pandemic planning, making sure nations sign up so they're ready for the next pandemic. A lot of criticism about what the WHO is planning to do and unite countries, but this is something we heard at Davos, but here he really sort of doubled down on that message of trying to ignore the conspiracy theories, ignore the lies, and just focus on how this planet can get ready for the next pandemic, which he said is coming. I mean, the messages are what we've heard before, but they come with a stronger message, I guess, this time around. Is that fair to say?
And that's a really important point, because no one ever thinks about a pandemic until it happens. And no one really wants to talk about it until it's affecting everyone, as we saw during the lockdowns in 2020. So this long-term planning and what you see being discussed at the World Government Summit informs those decisions that affects you on day one when a lockdown is brought in. So it's important to hear from him. On what you mentioned before on COP, I mean, we sometimes tend to think the COP is finished now and now it's over, but obviously it goes on every month, every year. The negotiations build and build. So we had an important announcement from the UAE COP team saying they were establishing a troika with Baku, who are hosting the COP this year, and Brazil are hosting COP next year to keep keep the momentum from Dubai and keep what was agreed, very historic agreement, keep that in everyone's minds and keep that 1.5 goal alive. So that also happened. We heard some pretty interesting comments from Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, the COP president, who gave a couple of interesting responses as to if he regretted taking over COP president, or if the criticisms really stung him, or ever thought resigning. So that was quite interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, John and I are brothers in arms, really. We're covering these kind of conferences, been doing it for maybe nearly, I think, 10, 11 years now. We've been hearing about flying cars, air taxis, as long as I can remember, maybe 6, 7 years ago. They first come on the agenda here in Dubai. They were up again for discussion this time around. We have venture capitalists talking about it. We have the RTA talking about it in depth. There seems to be light at the end of the tunnel now almost. It's happening, isn't it? 2026, I think they've mooted having these verticocopter sites all around Dubai. That's really exciting as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so right behind us is the prototype or the model that's going to it's envisaged will start carrying people by 2025 or 2026, I think they said. As you said, we've covered this before. We've heard that before, and we've heard those plans launched. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. Whether that's going to be a solution for a certain segment of travel, or whether it's going to serve the needs of the entire people. But we know Dubai is expanding rapidly, and public transport is so crucial. So it will probably be part of the mix. So let's see how that plays out.
All right, John. Thanks very much indeed for your time. Really good chatting to you. And again, I'm sure we'll be down again next year. Who's going to be on the agenda? We don't know, but lovely chatting to you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Nick.
That's it for this week's edition of A Closer Look. Be sure to tune into the YouTube channel to pick up all the previous episodes of A Closer Look, and thenationalnews.com for all the content from this week at the World Government Summit. See you next time.